Dear Ambassador of Republic of Kosovo, Mr. Ilir DUGOLLI. Dear Ambassador of Republic of Turkey, Mr. Çağrı Zakar. Dear President of Kosovo Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Berat RUKIQI. Dear President of Kosovo-Turkey Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Abdurrahman BALKIZ. And dear guests, I would like to welcome you for attending DEİK Turkey-Kosovo Business Council's third online meeting during coronavirus pandemic period. I am the president of DEİK Turkey-Kosovo Business Council and board member of ÖZER Group. As a 70 years old industrial organization, we manufacture conveyor belts, industrial V-belts, industrial textile, rubber shoes and boots, and marble, both in Kosovo and in Turkey. As a business person who makes productions in Kosovo since 2005, and as Kosovo's first Turkish investor, we believe that improving economic relations can be achieved by empowering the private sector in the region. Kosovo has special importance for us in terms of both our common history and culture and also economic relations. In this respect, Turkey-Kosovo Business Council, under the roof of DEİK Foreign Economic Relations Board, has been founded in 2008. Since its foundation, our aim is to constantly inform Turkish private sector about business and investment opportunities in Kosovo and to provide different platforms like our interconnected business series today, bringing Turkish and Kosovan business people together in order to increase bilateral economic and commercial relations, which have been remaining below potential. To facilitate and increase the trade between Turkey and Kosovo, up until now, following agreements have been signed and applied. Prevention of double taxation agreement, agreement on cooperation in the field of health, mutual promotion and protection agreement of investments, and finally in September 2019, free trade agreement. Regarding to free trade agreement, as Business Council last year, we have created and published a report. This report called Free Trade Agreement and its Effects on Our Mutual Trade. Also, through our webinar in June 2020, we have discussed business opportunities of free trade agreement in detail. During this global pandemic that gives us hard times and that we think we are heading to its end, as DEİK, we have been the most effective working non-governmental organization, thanks to the leadership of our dear President, Mr. Nail Olpak. Dear audience, Mr. Nail Olpak was supposed to be with us today, but in the last minute, he has to travel for business trip to Uzbekistan. So I would like to announce it here. For this challenging period that we are passing through, we have planned first of our online business forum series on sectoral basis. Today, we will be hosting business people from furniture, agro and food, and textile industries in order to plant a seed for long-term future corporations. Now, I would like to give the floor to our esteemed guests. I would like to start introducing you our counterpart in Kosovo. Kosovo Chamber of Commerce, that's founded by Kosovo Parliament as an NGO in 1961, has been our business partner who made significant contributions to our projects in order to develop our bilateral economic and social relations. Berat RUKIQI has been the president of Kosovo Chamber of Commerce since 2018. Prior to his duty at OEC, He has worked at the University of Pristina for 10 years, as an academician. Then he has served as the president of Board of Kosovo Electricity Corporation, and currently he is also the founder of Trosha Bakery in Kosovo. Mr. Berat, we would like to listen to your opinions about business and investment opportunities and the climate in Kosovo nowadays. I would like to leave the microphone for you.
Thank you, Merve. Your Excellencies, ambassadors, dear partners from Kosovo-Turkish Chamber, dear all participants, it's a great pleasure to be here with you today to give an update, important update to possibilities for further cooperation between Kosovo and Turkey, for advancing the economic cooperation between two countries, especially in a very difficult period for both countries. But this difficult period, due to the pandemic, it's also giving us some hope that new opportunities might appear for business people of Kosovo and business people of Turkey. So this is, I think, also good opportunity for all of us to explore those opportunities, not just in this meeting, but also in follow-up, and especially to give a space for businesses to have some exchange. Even it's not easy in this virtual format, at least to have some more communication between two business communities. And this is why this forum today is quite important, because it's not involvement of let's say, just business associations and diplomatic part, but also its involvement of companies. And I would like to thank Merve and all DEİK staff that did very great job to bring us together. At very last minute we had some difficulties, but I hope that next time we will improve some elements of our forums or activities, including presence of institutions. Some of institutions in Kosovo are in kind of transition, and basically I think that this is impacting their activities. So let's hope that next time KIESA and other Kosovo institutions will join us. But for any questions or for anything related with business environment here, I am quite ready to explain from perspective of chamber, but also from perspective of private sector directly, because I'm coming from private sector. And of course, I think the best information and best knowledge and best practice is coming from business people, including Abdurrahman Bey, from banking sector, including Merve, from manufacturing, and many other Turkish business people who did some great job in Kosovo. I know that sometimes it was not economically feasible to invest in Kosovo, but they took a risk also to, let's say, to praise and appreciate friendship between two countries. So they did some great investments, and they are contributing a lot to welfare in Kosovo with job creation, and also with some already new investment plan that we are, let's say, very much looking forward to discuss for. I will give you short information about recent developments in terms of pandemics, in terms of political developments in Kosovo, and also in terms of economic developments. And then, of course, ambassador and the others will give, let's say, more and more information that can be useful for us here, and also for companies that are part of this forum. So, in terms of pandemics, in last couple of weeks, Kosovo has, let's say, good trend in terms of COVID cases. because infection rate is decreasing. It's also important to mention that death rates due to COVID are decreasing as well. So this is quite good news. But there is slow progress in vaccination. The good news here in terms of vaccines is that Kosovo managed to sign a contract with Pfizer, and the first amount of Pfizer vaccines just arrived last night. And we hope that this massive vaccination process will start in next hours. And this definitely will help us a lot because let's say non-vaccination is prohibiting also some business activities and normal business life for companies here, but also for companies that have international cooperation, both imports and exports. In terms of economic trends, latest trends are positive. There is 20% increase in turnover of businesses after Bayram, because after Bayram, basically we had very minimal restrictions COVID-related restrictions, and this helped a lot, especially by boosting the confidence of let's say businesses, and by boosting the confidence of people here. I think it had good impact in terms of economic activity. Especially there is a good, let's say, sign related with purchasing power. So purchasing power is getting back to normal. And we are expecting a huge boost during summer now, because we are expecting diaspora tourism and visits of all brothers and sisters from diaspora that actually are having huge impact in our economy. Visits of diaspora during summer and during winter are, let's say, more than 10% of GDP here in Kosovo. So this is quite an important element, and it will have multiplier effect in some of the sectors, especially in some of the sectors that were hit by pandemics. In terms of politics, you know that Kosovo has a new government. Right now they are in kind of learning process because it's a full new establishment. But I can say that there is strong emphasis in terms of rule of law. And recently, one good news for business community is approval of commercial court law. We basically advocated for quite a long time to have this commercial court because we think that this will help to reduce backlog of cases, backlog of commercial cases, and definitely I think also according to the surveys with businesses here, but also with businesses from other countries, this will help a lot in terms of legal security for businesses. And I think legal security is good, or one of the most important elements for attracting FDIs in our country. In terms of political stability, I hope that now at least the preconditions to have stable government are in place. Kosovo struggled because of political instability, having 4 or 5 governments in the last 5 years. At least this government has numbers. So it's a consolidated majority in parliament and quite homogeneous, let's say, content in government. So basically we are expecting to have full length mandate of this government. If something, let's say, it's not happening in meantime. But preconditions are in place to have stable government, and the government that can pass every kind of legislation and every kind of reform. When I'm talking about reforms, quite important reform is education reform. Recently, we published a study with all the Western Balkan chambers with support of German government, and with some, let's say, research, especially with German companies. And this study was mainly related with nearshoring opportunities in Western Balkans. I see that companies not only from Turkey, but also from other countries, from European countries, even from US, are looking for nearshoring opportunities. So getting closer to the market. And this is due to the disruption of global supply chains. And the Western Balkans is perfectly suited geographically and in terms of infrastructure to be next hub for companies looking for such opportunities. But the common consensus, let's say, between current investors and potential investors is labor force. We have quite competitive labor force in terms of cost, but we have to invest more in skills. And we are expecting support of Turkish business community, but also support of Turkish government to improve skills of labor force here, because this, I think, will be useful not only for us here, for companies here, but also will be useful for any potential investments in Kosovo, including investments from Turkey. And what is quite important is that this government can pass important reforms because they have numbers, and this can be quite a fast track process if there is political willingness. Recently, and I hope that soon we will have some news related with regional cooperation. This is becoming quite important because markets are very small in Western Balkans. Barriers are there, non-tariff barriers and political barriers. So let's hope that there will be some progress in terms of regional cooperation. And I think also this progress in regional cooperation will help us to have more or to be more attractive in terms of FDIs. I mentioned commercial court. Other good news is increase of exports. I don't have yet full data for last 6 months, but basically in most of the countries, Kosovo has increase of exports for around 20%. Especially there is quite booming export towards US, but also I've seen that there is also increase of exports towards Turkey and European Union markets. So Kosovo companies are becoming important players in some supply chains, and this is good news. And also this is quite inviting for the others to use this potential that is created now in Kosovo market. Since, let's say, beginning of the work of new government, there is no big change in terms of policies, and we hope that they will not change some important policies related with taxation. We would like to keep advantage of having no tax on dividend, especially, but also advantage of having a simple tax system in Kosovo. This is quite important for us. For other policies, let's see. I mean, there are some new ideas, but not all of them are elaborated. Something what is important to mention is energy sector. In this sector, you know that we tried for 20 years to have new lignite-based power plant. I think we failed, but more than us, World Bank and some other stakeholders failed because they, how to say, put us on hold, and then in the end they decided to withdraw from this project. So now we have to think whole new ways for having security of supply, because Kosovo is one of the few countries in Europe without any, let's say, clear energy future, and this is quite a big concern. But also, when you have such situations, actually you have also opportunities. So this sector, I think, would be quite interesting, especially two, let's say, elements in this sector: renewable technologies and energy efficiency. And I think that this is, let's say, quite important discussion for the future. And I would recommend, actually, this was one of the ideas for this forum, Merve, but I think it would be important to have a very specific forum on energy. And let's see, because some projects are being discussed regionally, you know, also the plan to invest in gas power plant and gas network with support of US government. And also there is this new plan of EU to invest in green energy and to help green transition in Kosovo. So let's see. All this is a problem, is a challenge for us, but all this is also a whole new set of opportunities. And let's see. I think this would be some good follow-up for next forum. I hope it will be physical in some time, not far from today. I would like to stop here. I can talk a lot, but let's stop and give a space for the others. Thanks, Merve.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Berat. It's great to hear that social and economic improvement post-COVID in Kosovo. Also, you mentioned commercial courts, very, very important issue for us, for all the business people who does business in Kosovo. And you lastly mentioned the energy industry. I would like to announce from here that we are planning, hopefully in October or end of September, another business forum, a second of this interconnected series, on this time on energy, machinery, and information technology industries. That's going to be on sectoral basis also. So I hope to be with you in that session again in the fall term. Before giving the floor to Mr. Ilir DUGOLLI, the Ambassador of Republic of Kosovo to Turkey, I would like to introduce him in a few words. Ambassador Ilir DUGOLLI joined Kosovo's diplomatic service with the first group of appointments following Kosovo's declaration of independence in 2008. From 2008 to 2013, he served as Kosovo's head of mission, ambassador in Brussels, covering Belgium, Luxembourg, European Union, and NATO. From 2013 to 2016, he was Kosovo's ambassador to Sweden, non-resident for Norway, Finland, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, and Iceland. Whereas between 2017 and late 2019, he was Director for Security Policies and NATO at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. By the end of 2019, he became the Ambassador of Kosovo to Ankara. Between 2002 and 2004, he served as Principal Advisor to Prime Minister. He studied law at the University of Pristina and Central European University, and was a fellowship holder of Yale University and Carl Francis University. Now, Mr. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Merve. Herkese saygılar. Davetiniz için çok teşekkür ederim. Përshëndetje të gjithëve. Faleminderit për ftesën dhe është kënaqësi të jem pjesë e këtij takimi. Once again, thank you for a kind, generous introduction, which kind of compels me to make my remarks as short as possible. Greetings to Ambassador Zakar, Madam ÖZER YILMAZ, and all DEİK colleagues, Mr. RUKIQI of Kosovo Chamber of Commerce, Mr. BALKIZ of Kosovo-Turkey Chamber of Commerce, and everyone attending. Thank you to DEİK, the DEİK Kosovo Business Council and Kosovo Chamber of Commerce for the invitation and for putting together this event. Above all, I want to express my gratitude to DEİK and the Chamber of Commerce for their indispensable bridge between two respective business communities, between two respective economies as a whole in Kosovo and in Turkey. For me as ambassador of the Republic of Kosovo in Turkey, it is a genuine privilege to know that we have solid foundation for our bilateral economic cooperation with professional and vibrant institutions on both sides, such as DEİK, Kosovo Chamber of Commerce, but also Kosovo-Turkey Chamber of Commerce. It is even better when relations are not limited to institutions, no matter how important these may be, but they efficiently materialize day in and day out at business to business and people to people level. So these multifaceted relations are probably our strongest asset, I believe. And our economies are indeed interconnected, and the greatest value of events like this rests in deepening those relations, in strengthening that interconnectedness. I'm particularly grateful today for their commitment to enhancement of economic relations between Kosovo and Turkey, and for the valuable contribution to that end, even when operating under significant strains that the pandemic has imposed upon all of us, as Madam ÖZER YILMAZ and Mr. RUKIQI have already mentioned. A year ago, we were under serious lockdowns and with countless hurdles for business community, which affected movement of people, movement of goods, and that could have had even worse negative impact for our citizens. So we were reminded of the importance of unhindered trade and economic cooperation in general. Luckily, solutions were found with considerable energy being invested and patience also, and in order to provide continuation of our cooperation. Today we are at a point with some limitations being lifted, so we see gradual normalization. And that provides, I believe, for a new momentum for everyone, business community included. So some aspects, short bullet points, so to say, that are worth keeping in mind and that I would really like to highlight in this introductory remark. Legal infrastructure first, so is good. I mean, as a first point, and we cannot take that for granted because we don't have that between all countries. In fact, it's more than good. It is solid. It's close to ideal. It is economic cooperation agreement, many others that Madam ÖZER YILMAZ mentioned earlier, promotion and protection of investments, elimination of double taxation, and not least, of course, free trade agreement being implemented. Secondly, we already see, luckily, we already see signs of recovery, good projections, and positive outlook for this year and for the next year in this country where I'm now currently, in the country that I represent, and also I think more broadly. Now, thirdly, there's also growing demand, and that of course provides more and more opportunity for business community, more chances to explore new markets, new ideas, create new jobs, and so on and so forth. We also have, fourthly, new government in Kosovo, new institutions altogether, actually, with new president, new government, and so on, with significant focus in the rule of law in economy, job creation, and so on. And also we have some positive, let's say, political indications agreed during the exchanges that we have had, among others, to really have up and running interministerial economic commission, which I think would provide a good regular boost for economic activities or for, let's say, regular exchanges between business community. We have, of course, very intensive trade relations, but hugely unbalanced. So we try to reach a consensus, and actually there is already a consensus that there should be more balance, and that should change in order to really create more jobs. So we should all together try and do our service as much as possible so that a better balance is reached. So all in all, these are some of, let's say, main points of highlights that I would just like to point out in my introductory remarks. And of course, as embassy, we are ready to facilitate anytime in any way we can, but the greatest value of meetings like this is, of course, sessions that you are going to have later between business community themselves. So once again, I thank you for invitation, for the work that you do every single day. And I really hope that next meeting will be face-to-face. And if not, of course, if the opportunity doesn't materialize, of course, we will be available even in this format. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your contribution, Mr. DUGOLLI. I agree with you. I wish and I hope that next meeting will be face-to-face. Now, Mr. Çağrı Zakar, our ambassador to Kosovo, will make the last opening speeches. Mr. Ambassador graduated from Ankara University. He has started to work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 1996. He held various positions at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and at the Doha Embassy, Pretoria Embassy, Consulate General of Jerusalem, Embassy of Prague, Permanent Representative of NATO. Finally, he has started his duty as Ambassador to Pristina on February 1st, 2019. Now, Mr. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Merve Hanım. Ambassador DUGOLLI, President of Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Berat RUKIQI, Chairperson of DEİK Turkey-Kosovo Business Council, Ms. Merve YILMAZ, President of Turkey-Kosovo Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Abdurrahman BALKIZ, honorable guests, dear participants, it's a great pleasure to be with you today in this important meeting. I would like to start my speech by the latest news in our bilateral relations. As you might have also followed through the media, President Osmani and President Erdogan had their first face-to-face bilateral meeting on 18 June 2021 within the margins of CCP Summit and Antalya Diplomacy Forum. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, Ms. Gırvala, and Turkish Foreign Minister Çavuşoğlu also had a bilateral in the same fora. In both meetings, both sides reiterated their will to further enhance and deepen the commercial and economic relations between our countries. With the establishment of a stable government in Kosovo, I believe we have the potential to materialize this political will. Political stability in Kosovo will not only help Kosovo prosper, but it will also benefit Kosovo's friends in terms of projects to boost cooperation, particularly in economic and commercial fields. In this context, Turkey is ready to work with our friends in Kosovo government to capitalize on this opportunity. Finally, we have an important medium to boost our economic and commercial relations. That is the free trade agreement between Turkey and Kosovo, which entered into force in 2019 after Kosovo's completion of the ratification process. We have already started to reap the fruits of this agreement. In 2020, the first year of implementation, Kosovo's exports to Turkey have increased by 67% according to Turkish statistics. This year, also, we witness a very positive course in our bilateral trade volume and Kosovo's exports to Turkey. We expect the free trade agreement to yield more positive results in the longer run. On the other hand, not all provisions of the agreement are yet implemented. According to the agreement, the same tariffs should be applied to Turkish products with the EU products. We keep emphasizing our expectation in this regard in our contacts with the Kosovo government. I believe this will particularly contribute Kosovo in attracting more Turkish investors. We also expect the appointment of co-chairs of the Joint Economic Commission in both Turkey and Kosovo. After that, we will be able to work for setting the date for the first ever Joint Economic Commission meeting between our countries. Dear guests, excluding the remittances of Kosovo diaspora living abroad, Turkey ranks first in terms of foreign direct investments in Kosovo. This might surprise our friends in Kosovo, who are poisoned with misinformation or disinformation campaign run by some certain circles in Kosovo public opinion. Let me reiterate that, in fact, thanks to the Turkish companies' investments, Turkey is the biggest provider of foreign direct investment in Kosovo. Turkish companies create jobs for approximately 10,000 Kosovars, with their investments exceeding 368 million euros in Kosovo. We have no doubt that the interest of our companies in Kosovo will increase as the investment atmosphere in the country improves. We gladly observe that the Ministry of Justice sent the draft law on the establishment of commercial courts to government. When this process is completed, it will undoubtedly contribute to the investment environment in Kosovo. We should continue to work together to increase Turkish companies' investments in Kosovo and to attract more Turkish investors to Kosovo. Of course, we also welcome the entrepreneurs of Kosovo to Turkey. I believe that it is also important for Kosovo exporters and entrepreneurs to use the Business Council as a contact point and benefit from its experience and knowledge. The Council's experience will definitely add value. As I conclude, I would like to thank DEİK Turkish Kosovo Business Council for organizing this hopefully very fruitful event. I hope we can organize a similar meeting in person soon. Fortunately, pandemic situation is getting much better in both countries. Finally, I would like to express that our embassy will continue to support the Business Council in all its efforts to improve relations between Turkey and Kosovo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for your evaluations, for your comments, and kind support, continued support to us. Thank you very much. The first session of our event is over here, and now we are going on the panel session. In this panel, we are going to be looking in depth and discussing why to invest in Kosovo. Now for our Why Invest in Kosovo panel, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Abdurrahman BALKIZ, President of Kosovo-Turkey Chamber of Commerce. Let me give a few words on Mr. Abdurrahman. Abdurrahman BALKIZ spent most of his career in the Balkan region. He has operating in the banking sector in Albania and in Kosovo for nearly 20 years. After his duties in BKT Albania, he was appointed as country manager of BKT Kosovo. He is now a member of the board of directors in BKT Kosovo and KETS. Mr. BALKIZ is also the chairman of Kosovo-Turkey Chamber of Commerce. I would like to leave the microphone to you, Abdurrahman Bey.
Thanks a lot, Merve. It is really a great pleasure to be part of this useful meeting. And let me start my words to greet our ambassadors, Mr. Ilir DUGOLLI, Kosovo ambassador of Kosovo in Turkey, Mr. Çağrı Zakar, Turkish ambassador in Kosovo. Mr. Berat RUKIQI is our chairman of the board of directors in Chamber of Commerce. Yes. I was remembering the Albanian words and sorry to stop sometimes. And also our participants, dear guests. As Merve said, I am here more than 20 years, Albania and Kosovo, and mainly in banking sector and also energy sector in Kosovo. I'm the executive board member in KETS and KESCO. And during this, let's say, speech, I will tell something regarding the energy consumption relation between economical growth and the energy consumption amount. As you know, I will start to tell something regarding banking sector, then share our presentation to tell some words regarding the is it seen by the screen?
Yes, Abdurrahman Bey.
Okay. Okay. And let me start with the Kosovo-Turkey Chamber of Commerce. It is already established in 2008 with the leading of big support of Turkish embassy here. And we have 56 members and totally invested, as Mr. Çağrı Zakar said, around 400 million direct, 400 million euros direct investment in Kosovo and more than 10,000 employment contribution to the country. And in fact, I would like to tell something. Most of them are not new, and most of the time, in any occasion, as Berat Bey did, as Merve Hanım did, and some other institutions did, I will tell some good words regarding the Kosovo investment opportunities. To start this one, okay. Let's start with the presentation. I would like to give some information regarding the Kosovo, the demographic information, economic indicators, and banking sectors. As you know, Kosovo has been declared their independence on the year 2008, February 17, and more or less 117 countries has been recognized independence of Kosovo. And we are, as Kosovo, we are potential candidate for EU membership, and we are accelerating this stabilization agreement with the EU membership. For the time being, Kosovo is not official Eurozone member, but we are using euro as currency from 2002. And Kosovo has already participated IMF, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, EBRD, and Council of Europe Development Bank in some years, from 2009 to today. And let's give some demographic information regarding the Kosovo. Our total population is 1.85 million. As of 2020, with the negative effect of pandemic, it is minus 4.1% GDP growth. But in the last quarter of 2020, it became positive, 0.72% increase in GDP. And historically, I will give the other details of GDPs and in the other slides. The total GDP is 6.8 billion euros and per capita is 3.8 thousand euros. And the other indicators that are very advantage for the country. The average age of this country is 30, means that we are a very young country and very open-minded people and open to integrate the new developments for the country benefit. As we told before, mainly the Kosovo people are immigrating to other countries, mainly in Germany, Switzerland, Italy, what we can say for that, most of the people are trying to go to other countries to work there. And we as an institutions to stop this tendency, because this country needs to this kind of open-minded people. And other economic indicators that we can tell regarding this issue, our remittances is in the year 2019 reached to almost 1 billion euros. Even we were in pandemic conditions. It means that our diaspora sends a lot of money to their country to make their life better in Kosovo. But this money mainly is going to construction sector. And if we ignore this investment from diaspora, the Turkish investors are the biggest investor in Kosovo. And we can also talk about the economical circle in Kosovo is in this diagram. Wherever you start, this is a combination of each other. For example, the people are migrating to other countries, sending remittances here. They are fulfilling domestic demands, and they are already increasing the demand for the tradable issues such as consumers products. Then this is limiting the business expansions and also investment in Kosovo, and this creates lack of job creation in Kosovo. This is a kind of loop. The main problem to here, but as the business persons, we should stop this one to increase the investments, direct investments in this country. And as I said before, the GDP growth in a year, together with the other countries around us, you see Kosovo is sustainable GDP percentages. It is averagely more than 4%. Sometimes it goes to 5%. And the other countries mainly are lower than us. And even during the pandemic, all the countries has been decreased their economical growth. As you see from the table, Kosovo is almost on the top to decrease their growth. You know, we are decreased our growth 4%. Montenegro decreased 15%. Croatia 9%. Bosnia and Herzegovina 5.5%. Our expectations for the next years, it is seen mainly for second or third place. We are expecting to increase the GDP more than 4%, average 4.5%. This is main macroeconomic indicator to tell us something about the economy of Kosovo. And this is related with the GDP. And another issue that I would like to tell regarding the finance issue, you know, the economical growth is needed to reach the finance. In Kosovo, totally we have 11 banks, 9 are foreign owned, no state owned bank for the time being, all of them are private. Easy access to reach the finance in Kosovo, and a lot of big international banks are operating here, such as Raiffeisen, ProCredit, İş Bankası, Ziraat Bank, TEB. These are well-known banks all over the world, in fact, and including BKT as a local bank. You know, I'm also the board member of BKT, Banca Comunitaria Tractare. This is the local bank and most effective banks in the region. What we can tell more regarding the banking sector, that is one diagram I would like to show you. Totally 3,400 employees are working in banking, 5.3 billion euros total asset size, and total deposit is 4.4 billion. 11 banks, totally 211 branches, and shareholder equity means that capital for the banking totally 611 million euros. And this 611 million euro is generating almost 80 million euros, means that around 12% profitability over the shareholders' equity. And the advantages of doing business in Kosovo, as I said before, the youngest population in Europe, and these young people has high language standards. At least 2 main languages are spoken by them. It means that English, German language, and local languages. And this is very important as an asset for Kosovo, in fact. Another issue that I can tell, low corporate taxes, 10% for the time being, and great access to European Union, CEFTA and Turkish markets, and considerably low public debt for the country, low liabilities for retirement and other social conditions, and very easy to start up a company in Kosovo, and that is that have very highly liberal rules here. It is easy to open a company here that is only registering to the registration office, then put some capital. And very easy, within 1 or 2 days, the company is ready to operate. And also, internet access is very developed here when you compare with the EU average. And we have natural sources such as coal, zinc, ferronickel products, and some agricultural lands. And what I will add to this presentation, the energy sector, especially electrical consumption, is another indicator to invest in Kosovo. Totally, we as country, total electrical energy consumption is 5.5 billion kilowatt hours. And 30% of them are belonging to industry and commercials. More or less 70% belongs to the residentials or householding consumption. It means that there is a lack of investment for the businesses here. In general, this percentage should be vice versa. 30% consumption of the electricity should be in commercials and the residential industrial consumption. The 30% should be in the residential consumption. It means that there is a big opportunity or big lack of the investment to be here. Another advantage that I would like to highlight here, the Kosovo is a kind of logistics center in Europe. How I can explain or give detail in this issue, Kosovo is very close to the ports, such as Durrës, Thessaloniki, and Bar. And it is already their distance is around 250 kilometers, means that within 2 hours or 3 hours, you can reach to the ports. And also some other big capitals in the region, Tirana, Skopje, Sofia, Podgorica, we can reach these markets within 3 hours by driving. Very easy to reach these markets also in Kosovo. Because, you know, in general, the investors are looking for the demography of the countries. They are looking at the population and GDP, these numbers. Then they are changing their minds to look at the bigger markets. But in this region, in this geography, very easy to access to these countries. And these are also potential market for Kosovo. And another issue that I can tell regarding this logistical issue, it is very liberal rules between these countries through Kosovo to Albania, Kosovo to Macedonia, Kosovo to Montenegro. It is easy to go and no barrier on the borders. In fact, there is very easy access to these countries to each other, in fact. And I would like to draw attention to one more issue. In fact, the advantages offered to investment in Kosovo are subject that can be determined objectively, but beyond that, Kosovo also has an advantage, which is a development perspective. This is, we have already repeated ourselves for the diaspora contribution to this country. And more or less 40, 50 years ago, they immigrated from Kosovo, went to some other countries. They stick on their tie with their relatives in Kosovo. Now they started to make investment. Economical tie is increasing now. They are sending money here and investing some specific sectors. And this is creating some opportunity to make trade, to make business to the other countries. With this diaspora effect, Kosovo has some other free trade agreements with the other countries, including Turkey, EU countries, and US, United States of America. If you produce your products here, it is easy to import, to export to these countries very easily. And with these free trade agreements, we will have, the investors will have some bigger advantages than the other states in our region. It is a very big advantage, this one. And what we can tell more regarding the Kosovo economy, it is a young country and they have some legislation problems, but all Kosovo governments are increase the effectiveness of the legislations. And the last improvement is to open a court for the commercial court to open. And this will also accelerate the transactions between the businesses and to solve the problems with the companies. And from this point, I would like to tell, and I would like to give a kind of message. Investing in Kosovo means that investing in future, because we are a young country and open-minded people, and investing in Kosovo is also investing in Europe and the European future. And it means that if we look at only Kosovo, we can mix our mind. But as a logistical point of view, Kosovo is given big opportunity to the investors. I would like to conclude my words here. And I would like to thank again to DEİK and Merve to give us this opportunity to tell something about Kosovo and Kosovo opportunities. Thank you, Merve.
Abdurrahman Bey, thank you very much for this great presentation. You have shared your experiences of 20 years and explain why we invest in Kosovo from different aspects. I think it was very important that you have mentioned migration of young people to European Union to work, because I always say in all my speeches that this is going to be jeopardized for Kosovo's new workload, especially in the manufacturing industry, I would say. Now our webinar session ends here. I would like to thank all our distinguished guests for their contribution to our event and this panel. And dear participators, now you can log in. I think they have sent you sectoral networking rooms email. So you can log in the sector networking rooms via the link that you already sent. And I wish you all a very successful networking session. If there is any technical problem, you can write in the chat area, I guess. Now we are going to get into the networking rooms.
As far as I understand, we finished a little bit early than our program.
Yeah, I was going to say that we can exit this program on our own. Thank you very much, Abdurrahman Bey. I'll call you.